As I'm unloading my bag for TSA, I realize my camera isn't there. And that, my friends, is the time I punch the woman in the face. Take off the clothes and cutting them into pieces with scissors. Did anyone else taste the venom on that? He wants me to film him himself and add it to the end of the movie. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm actually doing something a little bit different today. What I'm doing for this video is I'll be looking through some Reddit posts on r/photography, and I'll be reading some of these photography nightmare stories. This should be so good. I'll be just going through the subreddit and looking at different responses that people have and either laughing at them or feeling bad for them. I don't think I've ever had a photography nightmare story. Genuinely can't think of any. Maybe I'll read through some of these and then get some ideas. This thread is from 12 years ago. I didn't even know Reddit was around 12 years ago. I'll read the description first of all anyway. Okay, let's share our photography nightmares. Moments in which something went terribly wrong for you during a photo shoot or anything related. I will start with a very memorable one. Travel to Los Angeles for an assignment in which I had to photograph an artist for an editorial. Bring everything I can think of that I need: camera, lenses, tripod, flash, batteries, etc. Leave for Los Angeles like a boss and excited for my first assignment as a staff photographer. 2 hours later, there I am standing in the artist's studio preparing for my photo shoot. The artist's time is very limited and we only have an hour to work together. Everything is ready. Artist set up for photos. Take first snapshot. No memory card. Oh my days. No memory. First of all, this is why I have one of these. If you've not seen my previous video, this is my memory card case where I keep all my memory cards in. This is crazy to me because every time I finish making a video, card comes straight out of the camera and straight into my laptop. I transfer it to a solid state drive. I take the memory card back out, it goes straight back into my camera. Like, I don't understand this one, but I also see that some people can just have one card. That's a scary thought. First assignment as a staff photographer. Spent ages preparing my gear for a once in a while shoot for an eclipse. Okay. The night before, so I could get some extra sleep. Picked up my bag, jumped in the car, drove 2 hours to a beautiful spot. Opened my bag, no lenses. Housemate had decided to borrow them. Living with a photographer would be wild if they did this and just took my lenses without my... Because part of me is thinking maybe this was like something that they did regularly, because why would they just come in and just... Anyway, I'm not even going to entertain that because all the comments are saying making very good points. Like how light was your bag for you to not notice? So I guess that kind of makes sense. Myself and two classmates going to Alabama to shoot a portrait and conduct an interview. I'm loading lights into my buddy's car at 6 a.m. and hand the camera to him. I already know what's going to happen. The camera's not going to be there. Finish loading the car, leave school and head up to pick up the other guy about a quarter of a mile away. We get in front of his apartment building and that's when we hear something slide across the roof. Oh my days. I'm gonna come really close and say this. Okay, let me just adjust this so I can say this. Like, we get in front of his apartment building and that's when we hear something slide across the roof and hit the pavement. Stop the car, find out that the sunshade on the Canon 24-70 can absorb quite the impact. The UV filter was shattered, but camera seemed to be operating. We decide to keep moving. After getting the broken UV filter out of the way, the ring was bent, so we couldn't unscrew it, but we carefully pulled the glass away from the lens. Everything seemed to still be operational. Big sighs of relief. We got to the location, and while the other two guys were doing the interview, I start setting up my lights, only to realize I forgot power cords for the packs. I'm guessing by sunshade they mean lens hood. But that's crazy! You know what? I've thought of my horror story or my nightmare rather. It was the first wedding I shot video for. I had just bought a gimbal, the DJI Ronin S2, right? And I was setting it up and everything. Bride's gonna walk in soon, etc. So I'm trying to mount, at the time, my 90D. I put the 7200 on the front of the camera. I thought, yeah, this should balance. The gimbal was not having it at all. And it was shaking everywhere. Nothing actually fell off, but I recorded maybe 1 or 2 takes. I was like, have I just broken the gimbal? And I panicked and I had to then film some of it handheld. It was not really a good time or place. I struggled a lot with that. But I also didn't really know how to balance a gimbal. Now I'm a lot better with it. I've had a lot more experience and it's been 2 years since then. I was flying to Jamaica out of JFK back in February. My wife and I get in the hotel about 1 a.m., have to be at JFK to fly by 5 a.m. Do not travel tired. Oh, dear. Anyways, we take the train from the parking area to JFK. We miss our check-in for first flight by 5 minutes, but get rescheduled for takeoff a couple hours later. We're killing time walking around JFK, then proceed to security to get on our rescheduled flight. As I'm unloading my bag with TSA, I realize my camera isn't there. I'm freaking out. I call the hotel to have them check the room. Nothing. So we hop on a train back to the parking area. About 15 minutes. Felt like hours. Unfortunately, my camera was in my car. Sitting right on the seat in JFK's parking area. Super safe. Had we not missed the first flight, I would have flown to Jamaica, a trip that we had dreamed of without my camera. We're gonna go and look at some newer photography stories. What are some of your freelancing horror stories? Let's see. This is from 5 years ago. So I went to school for photography and had freelance for a few years already. I'd shot some weddings, some corporate stuff, and a few editorials. A few years after graduation, one of my best friends is getting married to a woman that I'm not very fond of. More on that later. And I was invited as a guest to their wedding. A few weeks before the wedding is set to take place, I get a call from the friend informing me that their photographer has fallen through and they are in a jam. I tell them that we've got to discuss some details, but not to worry, I can help. About a week later, the three of us meet for a beer to discuss the plan. Basically, I tell them that it's not really possible to be a photographer and a guest at the same time. Like, I'm either working all day and all night shooting them, or I'm enjoying a nice dinner/drinks. I can't do both. Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. Being at a wedding is stressful because you're obviously working, so then you get hungry fast, but you have to wait till there is food. You have a limited time to eat the food because then speeches tend to happen whilst food is being served. Weddings are very hard to shoot. I understand why people charge as much as they do for weddings. Wife chimes in, all we want is the pose shots with the families after the service, that's all. You don't need to shoot the ceremony or the party afterwards. We want you to have fun as our guest. Okay, that sounds like a great compromise. What's your budget for photography? I ask. Her response, $100. I literally laughed in her face. I couldn't keep it in. So I say, you know what? Keep your $100, but this is my wedding gift for you. Ooh, that's tough. She seemed happy with that. And although I was pretty annoyed at this whole situation, at least I could help a buddy who was in a jam. A few weeks later, it was time for the wedding. I had my photo gear on me and my girlfriend and I were hitching a ride to the venue with another couple of friends that were also attending. The wedding was outdoors in a park in the north port of the city. We were running a bit late. The traffic was not on our side. Then I get a call from the groom asking where I am. I tell him that we're on the way, just stuck in traffic at the moment, but we'll be there. 10 minutes later, I get another call. Now it's the bride frantically asking where we are. I tell her we're just parking, not to worry. At this point, I'm a little confused why they are so concerned where I am. Like, just start without us, right? So, because they're not doing anything till after. Okay. So we get up to the area of the park where everyone is congregated and they are all staring at me like 60 people. The priest comes over and says, finally, you're here. Get the camera together and let's go. So everyone has been waiting for me and I look like an asshole in front of 60 plus people. I was livid while I was putting together my stuff. So yeah, I worked all day and all night and shot their entire wedding. Oh, for free. Oh my goodness, man. That's tough. Rip. So I spend the next week editing the photos. To anyone that's never done this, it's a ton of work. Yeah, it is. So the following weekend, I call up my buddy and say that the photos are done. I put them all on a DVD and they look great, by the way. I tell him he can pick them up anytime, or we can grab a beer or something. 3 weeks pass and I still have their photos. We are all going to be at another friend's wedding in a week's time, so I bring the disc with me and give it to them, since apparently they can't be bothered to drop by my place to pick them up. I walk right up to them at the mutual friend's wedding, hand them the disc, and I'm like, here's your wedding photos. And the wife says this: you're not holding them for ransom anymore. Nah, that's crazy. Wow. See, you know the funny thing is about that sentence? Holding something for ransom is usually with a money return. So that's cheeky. That is a very cheeky comment. But the next sentence, and that, my friends, is the time I almost punched a woman in the face. What does TLDR mean? I've seen this a lot and I actually don't understand what it means. TLDR, abbreviation for what? Or long story short, basically. Friends needed a wedding photographer, did the job for free, then was made to look like an arsehole in front of the whole wedding because they misinterpreted what they wanted photographed, or misrepresented rather. And the wife accused me of holding the photos as ransom because they couldn't be bothered to come pick them up. Yeah, that's crazy. I was hired by a company who was run/owned by two people, both equal partners. The catch was they were a former married couple who divorced. Oh dear. Well, both of them had totally different ideas for the shoot. They communicated via email, and when getting the final details for the shoot, both emailed me conflicting information: location, number of models, concept. See, I will say this, yeah? So whoever it is that's hiring you, from my own personal experience anyway, I think it's best to have a call over the phone, because you can't always capture something in text, like the emotion or the urgency that you're speaking with. Moving on. So I did a group email for both of them and got a response back from the woman saying they had discussed it and they were going with his location, but her concept and her models. Showing up 45 minutes before shoot to begin to start setting up on location to have both sets of models show up. This wouldn't have been a problem if the ex-wife didn't show up in her own clothes, and that started the hour-long fight that ended with the ex-wife making the models take off the clothes that the husband gave and cutting them into pieces with scissors, and the husband throwing mud on top of the dresses the wife brought, with the models hiding in their cars. And me sitting there with a full-on set lighting set up and nothing to shoot. Both tried to refuse to pay me because it was my fault for not shooting their idea. But the threat of a small claim court got my shooting fee. Okay. People are insane. That is wild. Anyway, we're moving on swiftly. I don't even have anything to say. I don't have anything to say. We'll do a few more and then I think we'll wrap this up. I've always been obsessive about never moving in on anyone else's clients, okay? Or taking any work away from other established photographers. It's just something that is very important to me. About 10 years ago, I used to do a lot of work for one newspaper. Another freelancer did a lot of work for them too. I'll call him Derek because his name was Derek. Did anyone else taste the venom on that? One day I got a phone call from the organizer of a Highland Games asking me to photograph their event for the newspaper. I told them that was Derek's gig, as he did it every year. They said they didn't want to work with him anymore because he was unreliable. I declined. Over the next week or so, I kept calling Derek but could never get hold of him. I left him voicemails telling him he needed to get in touch with the organizer of the games and make things right or he was going to lose a client. He never replied. Shortly before the games, the organizer called me again. He said they still couldn't get hold of Derek, had no idea if he was going to turn up or not, and they couldn't risk waiting any longer. would I please shoot the games for them? I reluctantly agreed. The day before the games, I got a phone call from the newspaper telling me they wouldn't use my photos for the games. Derek had phoned the editor and told her that I had stolen the job from him. Oh my days. That newspaper refused to work with me ever again. F you, Derek. Wow. He lost his job over that. Wow. Yeah, photography is... yeah, it's difficult. Someone like one of the comments says, "We've got a winner here." Okay, let's read this. When I was getting started, I had a legit client turn me onto a guy who needed a video done. When we met up, he explained to me his situation and that he wanted to make a documentary about his dead son to show how it was his ex-wife's fault that he killed himself. Not really my cup of tea. But he had a good amount of cash and paid up front, so I agreed to help him put it together. I'll be honest, in the photography world, if you're willing to pay up front, that means one, you really want it done, and two, you better take the job, because that doesn't happen that often. In my experience, people don't pay up front very, very often. But anyway, so I agreed and helped him put it together. Okay. The next time we meet up, he brings me to all kinds of photos and videos he has been gathering to tell his story, including the 911 call from his son's suicide and some footage from a strip club that he captured using some spy cam sunglasses he wore into the club where his ex-wife was working. He also had a video he captured while he had a polygraph test done while he told his version of the story. So far, this was turning into a solid documentary. The guy was kind of nuts, but hey, he had just lost his son. Yeah, true. He gives me more cash this time and tells me this is the last of the cash, but he was going to sell his boat so that he could pay me to finish putting it all together. This is when it started getting weird. We schedule a shoot day to add to the footage he already had, and he says we need to go to the desert to capture him shooting some guns. Okay. I was definitely uncomfortable, but feeling bad for his dead son and seeing how making this doc seemed to be helping him, I agreed. The day of the shoot, we drive out to the desert and find a spot to capture the scene. Now, I already felt that the guy was a bit off his rocker. This was when I knew for sure. He began to empty the contents of his van to set up his scene, including two mannequins, man and woman, sitting at table eating dinner and a lot of ketchup. Okay. He gets in a wardrobe, which is a black mask and bulletproof vest, and all while I nervously set my camera up to capture the scene. He loads up a few 22 caliber pistols and a shotgun and asks me if I'm ready. I roll. He shouts into the camera for a bit and then unloads into the dinner guests. When we are back sitting at the editing bay, we put what we had just shot together and he has me score it to the girl from Ipanema. Okay. And then offers me the guns as payment because his boat was still for sale. I decline and tell him I'll wait for the cash. A few weeks go by and he stops at my place for the last time. This time he has a plan for the final scene of the documentary. He wants me to film him killing himself and add it to the end of the movie. I decline. He gets mad. I forcefully had to remove him from my place, but not before he throws a wad of cash at me and scurries away. Every now and again, I see him on the going list for local filmmaker events. I guess he still hasn't found somebody to film his grand finale. Oh my goodness. I'm not finishing on that. I was asked to shoot product/lifestyle video for a company that produces women's fitness leggings. That is yoga pants with pockets, basically. The owners are a married couple and the husband is in the military. They don't have a marketing department or anything, but they're also wildly successful, okay? As it turns out, the husband was deployed at the time and him and I exchanged emails and discussed their needs, etc., etc. I saw some red flags during those emails, chiefly that they didn't really have a clue as to what they wanted a final product to look like. No visual style, no clear direction on a shot list, no harm, no foul. That's why I'm here. I told him that I had some reservations and that I think it would be best for both of us that I pop in on one of their photo shoots and take some video and put together a little demo reel so we could more narrowly define their final product. It gave them a chance to see what I could make for them, but more importantly, it gave me insight into how they operate internally. That's smart. Okay, so I show up to the shoot, do my thing. That was pretty uneventful. I chop up 2 edits, one 30 seconds and one 60 seconds, and I send it over. They don't like it. Okay, I'm fine with that. We tried to discuss their vision a little more in depth, but I was losing interest in dealing with the husband. I politely declined the project and wished them luck. A week later, a friend messaged me a couple links to their social media channels that featured some of the work I had made for them. Now I'm peeved. Emailed old buddy and told him that if he wished to use my work, he could purchase the rights to them for X amount of dollars, and that if he declined, then he needed to take down the content. He blamed his marketing team for using it. He doesn't have one, by the way, and said he would remove the content. He asked if we could connect when he returned from his deployment and work together, but I declined his offer and said that we wouldn't be a great fit for future work. Long story short, client asked me to shoot video. I did. They didn't like it. They used it anyway. I caught them. They blamed a non-existing marketing department. I declined all future work until Jesus comes back to save the earth. Oh, that's good. Okay. I think I'm going to wrap it up there. Bro, I am still laughing about I'm going to call him Derek because his name is Derek. Some of those were funny. I know I didn't have the best reactions to some of them or the most, immaculate or most impressive ones. I enjoyed that actually. I might record another one of these or something a little similar. Thank you guys for watching. If you've not subscribed, subscribe, please. Please subscribe. If you like the video, like the video. If you already subscribed, thank you very, very much. Turn on notifications as well, please, so that you're notified when I upload. Trying to go for week to week. Share the video, please. Socials, anywhere. Follow me on my photography Instagram. Check out my website. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. See you next week.